Stargate Universe was a victim of the MGM bankruptcy, poor ratings, and multiple other factors. The point is, we never got a conclusion to Stargate Universe. We never found out what would happen to the crew of Destiny, what the mission was, and they never came home. Today I thought, with the possibility of Stargate returning in the future, it'd be interesting to explore some of the ideas that circulate the internet around how they could potentially save the crew of the Destiny, how they could bring those people back. So, with all that being said, welcome to SciTrek, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. The most obvious way to get the crew of Destiny home is to somehow have some sort of ship reach Destiny, and that is something that I have postulated before. I have brought that idea to the forefront. However, it is a very difficult thing to do. Now, they do know where Destiny is. They can relay that information back. That's not a problem, and that's something a lot of people tend to forget. They seem to think that because Destiny was set off millions of years ago, that it's going to be really, really far away. But in reality, although it's halfway across the universe, with the hyperdrive engines that exist in Stargate, you could actually more than likely reach them within a few months. That is actually possible, especially with the Asgard hyperdrives, because we know that they could travel from the Ida galaxy to the Milky Way in a matter of hours, whereas it takes us, the Tauri, 2 weeks to get from Milky Way to Pegasus. Now that the Tauri have the Asgard knowledge, the database, maybe we've created some sort of hyperdrive hybrid that can actually travel between galaxies really, really quickly. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to be a straight 3-month jaunt all the way to Destiny. They're going to have to stop to refuel. They're going to have to stop to get supplies, and there's going to be things that mean it's not going to be that easy. However, they've had 10 years, and that is definitely a possibility. Maybe they could just travel there by ship, pick them up, and whoever wants to stay can stay, whoever wants to leave can leave, and that is a distinct possibility. The second theory I've seen online quite a lot is using a black hole. Now, this could potentially work, but I think people are getting it a little bit wrong. The ideas that I've seen postulated would be that the people in the Milky Way galaxy use a black hole to dial Destiny and then send a team to rescue them. Now, the problem with that is, although a black hole, yes, it more than likely can power the gate, and yes, it can keep it open for a really long time, actually indefinitely. Enough time, in fact, to get people to Destiny. I don't think that's the issue. The problem is gate travel is only one way. So if they were to use a black hole in order to establish a wormhole from somewhere in the Milky Way or Pegasus to Destiny, that wormhole would only be from there to Destiny, and it would never bring the people of Destiny home. The problem is Destiny doesn't have enough power to dial Earth. Now, there are some other ways that I think could possibly work, which tie into Stargate Atlantis and Stargate SG-1. Now, Samantha Carter and Rodney McKay created the Carter-McKay bridge, which is essentially a macro sequence which is uploaded to the Stargate network, and essentially it dials Stargates in order, transmits the data, dials the next one, transmits the data until it reaches its final destination. Now, there would need to be a hell of a lot of calculation involved in order to get this working, because it's not just traveling between two galaxies. In fact, you're going to be traveling between 30, 40, 50, hundreds, in fact, of galaxies, because Destiny left millions of years ago, and although it's only traveling slightly faster than light, it still has traveled pretty far. So a possibility is that McKay and Carter both develop a program that they can upload to the Stargate network, so they can hop between the Stargates that were placed by the seed ships in between Earth and Destiny in order to make the connection. Now, the only problem is Destiny is constantly moving, and if they can figure out a way of stopping Destiny, like indefinitely stopping Destiny in close range of a predetermined planet, for example, this could work. The only problem I can see is maybe they need to do something to the Stargates on each planet, which is going to make the mission a hell of a lot longer. But there has been 10 years in between, so maybe they've already got started, they've done a good portion of it, and it's going to be the final steps when we next see Stargate. Now, this is another theory that I came up with on my own, and I don't think anyone else has come up with this idea. But I think it's an interesting one, especially since we now have the Asgard core and their technology. So we all know that the Asgard are essentially a clone race. The entire reason that they're now extinct is because they were copies of copies of copies, and they had genetic degradation, which meant they couldn't reproduce naturally anymore. But the underlying principle is that they had mastered cloning. So if one of them died, they could re-upload their consciousness to a new body and they could survive. Now that we have this technology, now that we have all of their knowledge, and having had 10 years in the past to explore that knowledge, could it not be possible, using the chair in Destiny, to somehow transfer the consciousness through the gate? Kind of like a radio wave, so it's only data being transferred, it's not actually physical matter being transferred. So they could dial, Earth could dial Destiny, and they could Destiny could then basically transmit the data across. The way that they would get the data into Destiny would be by sitting into that chair, which basically uploads your consciousness to Destiny, and then they could use the technology that they have from the Asgard to clone the bodies of the people who were on Destiny and re-upload their consciousness to a body that is situated within the Milky Way galaxy. This is slightly a little bit of a cop-out, because it means that their original bodies are going to be drifting in space and they're going to be dead. Essentially, they're going to be dead. But their consciousness and everything about them will have been transferred to a clone body, and they will, for all intents and purposes, be home. This is a idea that I've had, and it kind of works within Stargate, knowing that we've got this technology from the Asgard now. We will have learned a hell of a lot from the Asgard core, given the 10 years that's passed, and we know that the Asgard had this technology to clone people and transfer consciousness from one vessel to another. So is it not possible, is it not feasible to assume that they're going to at least attempt it? Maybe this could be a way to bring back Gin. Maybe it could be a way to bring back the scientist who was in her actual body. She was disabled, but she took over Gin's body, and obviously they both ended up dying, but they now reside within the ship. Could they not return by getting a new body? Because the actresses are perfectly able. It was literally a plot device that the scientist was disabled, and she basically transferred into Gin's body just so she could help on Destiny, but she liked being able to walk and talk, and she wasn't disabled anymore. This could be a really interesting story. I could bring up a lot of ethical questions about whether or not it's a good use of technology to transfer someone from a disabled body into a perfectly able body, but it's also a really good way to save the crew of Destiny. Yes, it's kind of a cop-out, like I've said, because for all intents and purposes they will be dead, but could it work? It's an idea that I've had floating around my mind for a little while, and there are bound to be plot holes in it. There are bound to be things in the theory that just don't work, but maybe if we work at it, it could be something that could work. And if anyone at Amazon, MGM, Penguin and a Parker, whoever is going to be developing Stargate, if you like the idea, you're perfectly okay to take it and work with it, because I think it could work. I think it's something that is interesting enough to work, and then it poses those moral dilemmas of, did we actually save them, or did we just create a new version of them? And then there's the whole dilemma that gets associated with that, which makes great sci-fi, in my opinion. But what do you think? Out of all the theories that I've just mentioned, what would be your favourite? What would be the best way to save the crew of Destiny, or do you have a completely different idea altogether? Let me know in the comment section down below, and whilst you're there, hit like and subscribe and press the bell notification so you don't miss a single video. Also, consider becoming a fully fledged SciTrekker by joining our Patreon, patreon.com/SciTrek. Thank you so much for watching. My name's Matt, and I'll see you next week.